Good morning. It is March 30th, 2026, and it's March Madness. Absolutely. So we have the Clarity Act essentially being paused by Brian Armstrong. Yes. And with that, we also have the Iran war. Trump is sending more troops to Iran to fight. And with that being said, we're basically stuck in Iran. And with that being said, it has impacted the oil prices, of course. So with those oil prices going up, will they crack $200 a barrel? I think they probably will, and we're going to find out. We're going to watch a lot of videos, though, focusing today on the Clarity Act, Brian Armstrong, why he stepped in the way of that, and what it actually means for crypto, what it actually means for the future of XRP, what it means for the future of Bitcoin, what it means for the future of Ethereum, and really just all of the altcoins. So let's get right into it. So the market today is looking pretty decent, I would say. Bitcoin is pretty much stagnant. Everything's stagnant until the Clarity Act passes. I always say this, but it's true, right? We have to objectively understand that Bitcoin, everything's going to be moving with Bitcoin. And with this Iran war, you just never know what you're going to get out of it. 67,754 is the price for Bitcoin today. Ethereum's 2,070. Tether is 99 cents. Binance is $616.16. XRP is at $1.34. And really, the market is, like I said, it's pretty stagnant until we get the Clarity Act. Cardano's really been taking a hit. They're at 24 cents. Wow. And when I look at the rest of these, Stellar Lumens at 17 cents. I think XLM is going to be a big mover, by the way. I don't know about you guys. I think it's, we already know that XLM pretty much already works with XRP, Chris Larson, very, very powerful stuff. And we're going to talk all about this today. But of course, we got to look at the markets. We got to analyze what's going on. The fear and greed index is at 28. So it seems like people are becoming more fearful. Last week, we were actually in a better spot. Now people are becoming more fearful. Obviously, I would credit that more to the war. And as we look at some of these other articles, again, Crypto's Clarity Act could be a headwind for DeFi tokens. Ring fencing yield analyst says. So that's pretty big news. The proposed restriction on yield would shift toward regulated players and away from decentralized finance tokens, 10x Research's Marcus Thielen said. So basically what to know from this article, the Clarity Act would ban yield on stablecoins, redefining them as payment tools, not saving products. The proposal, if passed, could re-centralize yield into traditional finance and regulated products, creating a headwind for decentralized finance, DeFi, or 10x Research's Marcus Thielen argued. The shift would favor Circle and regulated infrastructure while weighing on DeFi tokens. Who else remembers that the company Ripple, XRP, Brad Garlinghouse, he had made an offer to acquire the company Circle for, I believe it was somewhere around $8 billion. And then there was some rumors that that number was even higher. Some said like 11 billion, and then there was rumors of like 20 billion. So we understand that this market is huge. We understand that the latest version of the Crypto Bill Clarity Act is in the spotlight mostly because of its stablecoin rules. In practice, it may land hardest on decentralized finance and tokens tied to it, according to a report by 10x Research. But I did some of my own research on it. I looked into it. I think crypto's in a pretty good spot. And the reason I think that is because we are in $38 trillion of debt, $39 trillion now. So when we look at all of that, it's like, yeah, I mean, obviously we can see where the market's going, right? The stock market is up. Dow ends at 400 points higher as the stocks rebound after 3-week losing streak. Oil is back below $95 a barrel, but it ends up going back up because Donald Trump ended up putting a post out that we're going to send more troops to Iran. Wall Street points towards gains as oil prices soar amid fears about escalation in Iran. So, yeah, so you never know what's going to happen in this market, right? You really can't predict any of this. And all you can really do is stay ahead of the game as much as you can, right? You have to know your research. You got to do the due diligence. Wall Street was poised to open the week with gains on Monday as oil prices continued their climb and prospects for an end to the Iran war, and this remains uncertain. Futures for the S&P 500, Dow Jones Industrial Average, and NASDAQ all climbed 60% before the opening bell. Wall Street closed on Friday with its fifth straight losing streak its longest such streak in nearly 4 years. Benchmark U.S. crude jumped $1 to $1.20 to $100.84 a barrel. So, yeah, they ended up crossing $100. I said 2 weeks ago that you're going to see oil prices go way above $200 a barrel. And I think that's obvious, only because we're going to be in this war for a long time. This is going to be a war of attrition versus Iran. And with that being said, with all of the materials and the manufacturing that we're going to be doing for this entire fight, for this entire war with Iran, unprovoked, essentially we're going to be paying for it. As the American taxpayers, all of these things are going to happen. But I also think there's going to be a market shift because there's going to be crypto. There's going to be these really these important movements that are becoming a more common conversation, right? And so the gold price today is $4,564.30, and that's pretty good. Not too bad at all. We're pretty much staying again, we were at like 5,000. We were at what, like 5,200, 5,300, maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, right before this Iran war kicked off, right before Israel got the United States involved in this war. And man, that war is looking crazy. I don't know what you guys are thinking, but that's an insane sequence of events that's going on. We pray for the troops, of course. We pray for all lives, but insanity. We shouldn't be involved in it. That's for sure. And so when you look at these prices, it kind of tells you, right? We had better prices with gold and all of this. And so that brings me to the article that Trump had put out on Truth Social. The United States of America is in serious discussions with a new and more reasonable regime to end our military operations in Iran. Great progress has been made, but if for any reason a deal is not shortly reached, which it probably will be, and if the Strait of Hormuz is not immediately open for business, we will conclude our lovely stay in Iran by blowing up and completely obliterating all of their electric generating plants, oil wells, and Karg Island, and possibly all desalination plants, which have purposefully not yet touched. This will be in retribution for our many soldiers and others that Iran has butchered and killed over the old regime's 47-year reign of terror. Thank you for the attention to this matter, President Donald Trump. So again, he made that post 1 hour before the stock market opened. So you have to look at all of these things and how it all actually connects, right? You have to understand the importance of this. What are people saying? Dr. Simon Godak said, I never thought I'd find myself favoring the Iranian regime, but at this point it seems like the lesser of two evils. Yeah, perhaps, right? Perhaps. I don't think we should be involved in this war. I don't think it helps the American economy at all. I think that's obvious. The only people it's helping are those who are obviously investing in oil, and you're staying ahead of those markets, right? You're staying ahead of all of that. Trump needs to be impeached, saying you're going to destroy their electricity and water supply is pure evil. It's essentially saying they're going to starve everyone in Iran to win a war. Not even Hitler was that evil. Yeah, so nobody in America is really on board with this Iran war. The only people on board with it are Lindsey Graham and Donald Trump and a lot of these different kinds of caricatures. But the only reason we cover that is because this has pretty close relevancy to the oil prices and how this is shifting markets. So if you want to get more coverage on the geopolitical things happening in the markets today, then definitely subscribe to my channel at Ecker Geopolitics. That's every night at 7 p.m. I try to make it every night, Monday to Thursday. A lot of times I'll take nights off just because I'm a busy guy. I build softwares and AI systems for business owners, small business owners in particular. And if, you want to work with me, you want to work with a software company that's going to essentially allow you to build your entire business all in one. Essentially, again, it's totally automated. It's pretty great stuff. Again, just taking a quick look at it. Little quick plug here. Stop losing expensive leads to slow follow-up. This is goldsharkmedia.com. We are literally still in beta mode, right? So we have a lot of cool things that we're doing with this, but this is for specifically roofers, HVAC, med spas, legal services, agencies, home services, realtors, e-commerce. All features are included with this, essentially, right? Speed to lead, AI summaries. And guys, this isn't even like the updated app, by the way. We have so much going on. It's insane, okay? And this is a pretty good deal for any kind of business owner, right? You have full CRM pipeline, track every lead to inquiry to close, follow-up task reminders, pre-lead activity timeline, speed to lead tracking, invoices and payment requests. And then, of course, you have multi-location CRM management with our Elite plan, white labeling software, full audit logs and compliance controls. And then, of course, you have a lot of pretty cool stuff. AI lead summaries, proposal builder with client e-sign and approval portal, review request automation, one on every one deal, recurring retainer billing with automated reminders. And again, we built all of this for business owners. So if you're looking to grow, go to goldsharkmedia.com. We even have a ROI calculator for you business owners out there and entrepreneurs, so be sure to tune into goldsharkmedia.com. And again, this is kind of a beta mode that I'm showing you, but we'll pretty much have this launched in the next 48 hours or so. So definitely tune in to goldsharkmedia.com, and we will help you grow your business. Okay, back to the main story and what's actually going on. Right, let's actually cover what's going on in the markets. Let's cover what's going on in oil real quick, and then we're going to finally get to the Clarity Act and what's actually going on with that. Okay, so let's listen to a quick little analysis of what's going on. Just a few moments here.
News. First up, the Financial Times is reporting Donald Trump has said he wants to, quote, take the oil in Iran and could seize the export hub of Card Island.
Whoa.
This as the U.S. sends thousands of troops to the Middle East. The president told the FT his preference would be to take the oil, comparing the potential move to Venezuela.
Oh, boy.
Next up, the Wall Street Journal is leading with President Trump weighing a military operation to extract nearly 1,000 pounds of uranium from Iran. The Journal reports it would be a complex and risky mission that would likely put American forces inside the country for days or longer. The Journal says the U.S. has previously removed enriched uranium from a foreign country in a peaceful transfer.
So that's
and
not good.
The Washington Post says President Trump said he would not enforce his effective blockade against fuel supplies to Cuba, allowing a Russian tanker to deliver crude oil to the island. The Post says the Russian tanker is carrying oil that, once refined, could power Cuba's aging energy grid for a few weeks.
Russia is really winning this entire war more than anybody, when you really look at it. Right? So, I mean, that's absolutely obvious. So, again, that's just one little cap and cherry on top when it comes to the conversation on what's happening with oil, why the oil prices are doing what they're doing. We got to cover the Iran war. We got to cover how that does impact the geoeconomics of the United States economy, right? We have to understand how all of this stuff impacts it. Earn competitive yields by lending your USDC. This is September 18th, 2025. This was by Coinbase. Okay, now we're getting into the Clarity Act now after we did our little market update, just kind of seeing what's going on today. And now we're going to get into this Clarity Act conversation. And we're going to get into my analysis of it. I compiled a series of videos. We're going to look through all of them. We're going to see what the conversation is, what happened over the weekend. And we're going to look into this. We're going to look into all of it. Earn competitive yields by lending your USDC. So this was released a while ago. And you look at this, there's a new way to earn more from your assets. Lend your USDC and earn higher rewards, all without leaving your trusted and easy-to-use Coinbase app. Lending is entirely powered by Morphle and Steakhouse Financial on Base. We are rolling out this integration to Coinbase's users over coming weeks in the U.S., excluding the New York State and additional countries. So this is kind of interesting how this works, because it's really this kind of gets into the Clarity Act a lot. And this kind of makes sense as to the yields and the stablecoin yields, how this kind of works with USDC, how Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, is really benefiting from this. USDC provides a reliable way to hold digital money as a widely accepted and highly liquid digital asset, redeemable one-to-one with the US dollar. Stability is not the only perk, though. Coinbase gives you the chance to earn passive rewards, 4.18% APY and up to 4.5% for Coinbase One members while you hold USDC in your account. Here's the thing with that. A lot of people don't understand that Coinbase is getting like 31%, I believe, somewhere around there, 31 to 35% of commissions off of any kind of stable coins, any kind of yields that are being held on Coinbase and not sold, right? So that's kind of where the issue is. Brian Armstrong said, well, if this entire Clarity Act goes, then I can't make 30% off of the people who are letting their crypto sit idle on Coinbase. I want to make money from that, he says. And so Coinbase is now basically being labeled the reason that this Clarity Act is not passing. So now there's conversations, though, that news is better, that apparently and allegedly Brian Armstrong is coming back to the table, and they're probably going to pass this entire thing by April or May. Okay, so that's kind of what's in the conversations, and we'll look at some of these videos now. This is kind of where they talk about it, but we're going to cover a few of these different stories here. Okay, so when we look at what's going on with a lot of these different stories, you see Coinbase says Senate markup for the Clarity Act is targeted for the second half of April. Rewards language expected to be resolved within 3 weeks. So this just came out 9 a.m. today, March 30th, 2026. So apparently, again, according to this, Brian Armstrong may be just coming back to the table to talk about how this is actually a good idea. Obviously, he knows it's a good idea. He knows he's going to make money. He went to crypto. He went to Ripple And Ripple, basically Coinbase said, hey, if you pay us like $1 million or a couple $1 million, we'll put you on Coinbase. We'll let you be listed on here. And XRP said, well, we don't really need to pay you that. We kind of are good to go. So it's interesting how all of this is working now. And now you have Ripple, who acquired Franklin Templeton, that you have Ripple, the company Ripple XRP. They've also possibly acquired Circle. And when I say that, I'm not saying that happened recently. I'm saying that there was some kind of rumor that there was talks, and that never happened, allegedly. But I think that there was something more that happened behind closed doors. It's kind of my theory on that. Okay, so what do you guys think? Ultimately, I think that's kind of what's going on. Brian Armstrong is blocking Clarity Act to protect Coinbase commission fees. Every time he says the bill isn't good for crypto, he means the bill isn't good enough for his revenue. Trillions in institutional capital stuck because of this veto. This is crazy. So let's look at this. Let's take a look. There is no fee to stake your assets. Coinbase takes a commission based on the rewards you receive from the network. Our standard commission is 35% for ADA, Atom, AVAX, DOT, Ethereum, Matic, Solana, and XTZ. For ADA, Atom, DOT, Ethereum, Solana, and XTZ, the commission for eligible Coinbase One members is 31.75% for basic tier, 28.5% for preferred tier, and 25.25% for premium tier. There is a 1% fee on the total unstaked amount for the instant unstaking, and no fee for unstaking your assets if you wait for the full onboarding period. Some users may receive offers for staking promotions with lower rates. The APY and rewards shown in your account always reflect the earnings you receive after our commission. You can find out more about commissions in the Coinbase user agreement. But the important thing is in this, the 35% commission that Coinbase is getting for basically, again, crypto that is sitting idle on the exchange. So there's the guy. So here's our dude. This is our champion for stopping the Clarity Act. There he is. Take a good look at it. What a good looking dude, right? You could see your face in that head. Anyways, I'm not gonna say anything bad about Brian Armstrong. I'm just saying, come on, bro. Like, you're just keeping everybody poor now. And how many people are invested in crypto? Like, a lot. A lot of people are invested in crypto. So it's honestly terrible that we really are just making it so hard for people to win, man. It's just one of the most important things. Listen, as an entrepreneur, as a realtor, CEO of Gold Shark Media AI, I've learned to make money on my own. But let me tell you, I don't know how people are making it today. Things are expensive. The cost of living is going up, all of it. The grocery prices, gas prices, going to get higher now. Oil prices are going to get higher, right? The petrodollar's definitely weakened because of this war. All we know is that crypto might just be the last stand. If this Clarity Act is not passed, there's really no way to pay off that $39 trillion of debt. There's no way to acquire Greenland. There's no way to acquire Cuba. There's basically no way to control Venezuela. There's no way to, obviously, it goes without saying, there's no way to control the Strait of Hormuz or the Gulf of Oman or, any of these locations. Iran, no, these regime changes aren't going to happen. And if you look at Israel today, they're not doing so well in this war. So how does this connect to business? How does this connect to the economy? Well, this entire thing that we're seeing here with the Clarity Act and crypto, I think that's going to be one of the main reasons that we are actually able to still have an economy at all. I think crypto is going to be the restart, the financial reset, the black swan event. And you notice you're seeing the food supply shortages. You're seeing all of these things happening. And so it kind of made sense. We're kind of in that perfect timing to where, you're going to see these new assets starting to emerge, right? And here it comes, AI and then blockchain. So let's listen to this clip. This is an important clip. XRP talent collapse. A U.S. senator just exposed it. America had 40% of global crypto developers. Now it's down to 20%. That's a 50% collapse in just 5 years. Pass the Clarity Act now or lose the future of XRP. And again, if you're watching this, if you're liking it, be sure to smash the like button. Be sure to support the info. And let's take a look at this video.
In 2018, the U.S. share of global blockchain developers was 40%, and today it is down to 20%. While the rogue regulation of former Gensler did America no favors in fostering crypto innovation in America. That does not mean it is too late to reverse his policies and establish America as the crypto capital of the world by doing something that we already did, passing Clarity Act. We're losing our blockchain developers because foreign jurisdictions are adopting clearer frameworks. So there is that urgency for us to get this done and get it across the finish line as soon as possible.
It goes without saying. Like, this is absolutely one of the most important things our Congress should be talking about. We should be ahead of China and all of our competitors and these countries that are going to do it first if we don't. You know, they have no problem bombing Iran first before anybody else does, but they don't want to be the first to crypto, something that could make them rich and everybody else rich. It's quite honestly unbelievable, the times we're living in. But we got to be lucky to be alive, I guess, right? Huge. Ripple could finally receive the approval to become a national trust bank on April 1st, 2026. Who knows, though? April 1st, it's probably an April Fool's joke by the Epstein crime syndicate, right? They don't like XRP, the Epstein crime syndicate. They liked Bitcoin. And I have nothing against Bitcoin, by the way. I love Bitcoin just as much as I love XRP. The only thing I hate about Bitcoin is that it really seems like it's overrated. It's kind of overvalued. I think it is good for a store of value. I think it's good for that specifically, but only if it runs on the XRP. If you can't make payments with it, if you can't run Bitcoin on the XRP, then there's really no choice of there's no point in making like your own kind of stablecoin. And again, we're going to play a video of Michael Saylor talking about how they wanted to make a stablecoin for Bitcoin. Okay, so let's look into this. OCC finalizes amendments to affirm authority of national trust banks to engage in non-fiduciary duties. On March 2nd, 2026, the Office of Comptroller of Currency, OCC, finalized amendments to its existing rule on national bank chartering to affirm the authority of national trust banks to engage in non-fiduciary activities, including certain custody and safekeeping practices. The final rule adopts revisions contained in the OCG's Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, the NPR, issued on January 12th, 2026, without change. The revised regulation, the amended rule, takes effect April 1st, 2026. So that comes from Heidi Wicker, Tom Witherspoon, Audrey Carroll, and Matthew Grimaldi. So we'll see about that. We'll see if there's any actual truth to that. Again, when you look at the comments, people are excited about it. But again, we know how hype and all of that stuff it's all speculation. Nothing happens until the laws really come into place. Okay, it's happening again. XRP and crypto holders read this. Coinbase has blocked the Clarity Act twice, and it's not looking good for the entire crypto industry. So this was also posted today. So we have a negative take. So we had a good take, and then we have a negative take. So you see like mixed reactions with the Clarity Act, what it means. People are trying to figure it out. Again, we're going to look at our own analysis of all of this very shortly as well. So imagine you've been fighting a court case for years. You win, the judge rules in your favor, and just when the law is about to make it permanent, someone who hasn't even been a part of the fight blocks it because it hurts their paycheck. That's what's happening to XRP holders right now. Clarity Act defines tokens as commodities or securities, protects developers, protects self-custody, gives the industry the legal framework we've been begging for since 2020. If passed the House, bipartisan 294 to 134, then Coinbase blocked in the Senate twice. January, Armstrong pulled support the night before a markup, canceled. March, White House brokered a compromise. Coinbase rejected it again. The fight, stablecoin yield. Banks, when it was banned, Coinbase makes $800 million a year from USDC rewards. That's 20% of their revenue. So they'd rather have no bill than lose that income. Meanwhile, the Clarity Act covers everything else: token classification, CFTC authority, tokenized securities, and self-custody rights. All frozen over one feature that has nothing to do with most of us. I keep thinking about this. Ripple fought for the SEC for years. We held through delistings, FUD, and uncertainty. That's absolutely true. RLUSD was built compliance first. No yield drama, no lobbying against legislation. Ripple is inside DTCC, BNY Mellon, central banks pilots. Building while others block. If this bill doesn't pass by May, midterms take over and it likely dies. Years of progress gone. It's not that it will likely die. It needs to have that time on the Senate floor. So if it gets pushed out, then it's going to be like another year. And I think they might just do that, right? They're always trying that stuff. And we know that, again, the Epstein crime syndicate has a lot to do with Bitcoin. And there's this huge competition between Bitcoin and XRP and the Bitcoin Matsies and the XRP Matsies. So you're looking at all of this stuff happening. I predict the end of May, clarity at, so this is a statement by Brad Garlinghouse. Important. The reason I'm playing so many XRP clips is because, whether people like it or not, Brad Garlinghouse is highly commended by President Trump and David Sachs and a lot of these guys. They are well known. They're all in the same group. You look at these people, and you could say they're good, they're evil, whatever. The point is that what is this technology and what can it achieve? I want crypto to succeed because I think it's the only way we're going to save our economy as the United States. And then I also believe that there are many other economies that the company Ripple itself, all alone, basically could help with instant cross-border payment transactions, 1,500 transactions per second. I mean, they have a CEO. They actually have a CTO, David Schwartz, smart guy. They have a team. It's a real company. And not only is it a real company, it's actually more decentralized than Bitcoin is, right? I've heard about more people getting their Bitcoin stolen than XRP. And I know Bitcoin's been around longer, they say, but it's like, I don't know about that. We've heard that XRP might have been around a little bit longer. But what do you guys think? Is that a rumor? Is it fake? Is it fake news? What do you guys think? So again, market view. Latest on the crypto market structure bill. On the policy front, the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act moved back to focus this week as stablecoin rewards once again emerged as a key sticking point. Thanks a lot, Brian Armstrong. Recall that there was no announcement from Senator Thomas Tillis and Angela also Brooks last week, March 20th, indicating that the Senate Banking Committee had reached an agreement in principle intended to unblock the bill. On March 24th, it was revealed that the latest proposed framework would ban yield paid on solely passive stablecoin balances while permitting a narrower set of activity-based rewards tied to payments of platform usage. Ostensibly, this was an effort to address banks' concerns about deposit flight without shutting down all innovation in stablecoin products. Crypto industry leaders are currently working on a coordinated counter-proposal to explain why targeted exchanges are needed to protect customers and preserve sustainable rewards programs. The base case is to resolve rewards language over the next 3 weeks alongside other open issues, such as designing a workable SEC front door and preserving the SEC's extensive authority so that the Senate Banking Committee can hold up a markup in the second half of April, paving the way for potential final passage as early as May if the floor time allows. So, what's the deal? Hi, David. I hope you are doing well. Could you explain this tweet again, if possible? Please go into more detail. Thanks, boss. And then I just thought this was funny. I thought it was interesting. They screenshotted David Schwartz's tweet, which was posted on November 21st of 2017. And David Schwartz, who is the chief technology officer of Ripple, he said, "It can't be dirt cheap, the price of XRP. That doesn't make any sense. If XRP cost $1, they'd need a million XRP, which would cost $1 million. If XRP cost $1 million, they'd need one XRP, which would, again, cost $1 million. And then we look at this, David, just 7 hours ago, he actually posted, it's very simple. It's saying that the higher the price of XRP, other things being equal, the cheaper it is to use it for payments. Thank you very much for your response, David. I hope this helps understand your tweet. So that's what David Schwartz had to say. What do you guys think? I mean, it seems to me like XRP is getting some pretty big traction despite all of this madness, all of the chaos, unpredictable twists of fate. Clarity Act signed into law in 2026, down 7% those chances in the last 24 hours. Brian Armstrong is preventing it to happen. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely think there is a lot of corruption, a lot of weird stuff going on that we saw with like Epstein and all that kind of stuff. I'm not accusing anything. I'm definitely not doing that, but at the same time, really weird behavior. This is what we see from the Epstein types, the weird, strange Bernie Madoff types, the Sam Altman-Fried or the Sam Bankman-Fried. Those people, that's who we're dealing with. The Clarity Act is done. Loomis just confirmed it. TET's dropping next week. DeFi protected. Stablecoin yield unlocked. Institutional barriers gone. One bill, every problem solved. Years of regulatory uncertainty ended next week. The TET's drops next week. Garlinghouse said 90% by end of April. Loomis says strongest predictions ever. Trillions waiting behind it. The countdown is no longer months, it's days. So let's see what Senator Loomis had to say about where crypto is going, where the Clarity Act is going. This is brand new. This is posted at 7:04 a.m. Actually yesterday. So let's see, not too long ago. All right, just loading here. Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty big market. Lots of big things to come. And of course, it's not going to play. Because why would it? Because nothing works when you want it to, right? Okay, so I guess we're just not going to watch that one. We were never meant to watch Senator Loomis. Make sure we're still good. Nice. Breaking. Ripple just built private transactions directly into the XRP ledger. Your balances stay hidden. Confidential transfers for multi-purpose tokens on the XRP ledger. So that's pretty interesting. Murat Senk, Ripple Research. Then you have their team here. The abstract basically states that we introduced confidential transfer for multi-purpose tokens, confidential MPTs, on the XRP ledger, a cryptographic extension of XLS33, 33, that Freemason number, token standard that enables confidential balances and hidden transfer amounts while preserving public supply verifiability. The protocol replaces plain text per account balances with EC-LGAML ciphertext and employs non-interactive zero-knowledge proofs to enforce transfer correctness, balance sufficiency, and the invariant outstanding amount, greater than or equal to the max amount, without requiring decryption by validators. Confidentiality is scoped to transaction amounts and account balances sender and receiver identifies remain public, preserving XRPL's account-based execution model. Our design maintains full compatibility with existing MPT semantics. Public and confidential balances coexist. Issuance rules remain unchanged, and the issuer's designed second account is treated identically to the other holders. The protocol further supports issuers' controlled operations, including freeze and clawback, without weakening supply soundness. To accommodate regulatory and institutional requirements, confidential MPTs provide cryptographic auditability through the on-chain selective disclosure model based on multi-ciphertext balance representations and equality proofs, while remaining compatible with simpler issuer-mediated audit models. We present a complete protocol specification, a security analysis under standard discrete logarithm assumptions, and an open-source reference implementation, MPT crypto, that realizes the required cryptographic primitives. Experimental evaluation demonstrates that confidential transfers can be verified within XRPL validator performance constraints with proof sizes of verification costs suitable for production of deployment. Sheesh, that was a mouthful. Keywords: confidential transactions, zero-knowledge proofs, homomorphic encryption, bulletproofs, supply verifiability, auditability, and blockchain protocols, plus the XRP ledger. So, big things are going on. There's just no denying really what's coming. And then, if you really wanted to doubt it any further, listen to Larry Fink saying it. Okay, so this is Larry Fink essentially saying who played an instrumental role in forcing woke diversity quotas on companies, now concedes that the woke era was a failed experiment.
Do you believe the woke
kind of think this is funny
era?
This kind of has nothing to do with business, but I still think it's funny.
Failed experiment. The ESG, the DEI, the kind of push for that. When you talk about things now, you talk in a practical sense, what we can do, what we can get done. Looking back at that, how do you see it?
Society moves, the pendulum moves.
Society moves, and the pendulum moves like this because I'm Larry Fink and I'm the CEO of BlackRock and I decide what happens.
All the time. In BlackRock's cases, we are responsible for managing money for everybody.
That's true.
And even today, as you said, maybe these renewables are less talked about it. I can tell you right now, we have many investors worldwide are investing in renewables, trying to emphasize solar and other things like that. We're working with Occidental Petroleum right now to building the best carbon capture factories in Texas, right?
Carbon capture keywords there. They're looking for the carbon capture. Again, carbon credits, carbon taxes, it's coming.
Now, so do I believe the pendulum 5 years ago was too far? Yes.
You do.
I believe we're more I'm personally more pragmatic too. And I believe...
But do you think BlackRock pushed some companies a little bit further left than you thought?
It was never our intention, because our job is to be... I got to be a fiduciary to everybody who gives us money. Our responsibility, Brett, is to making sure if one of our investors wants to invest 100% in hydrocarbons in Texas, I'm investing 100% of the money in Texas. But if another state fund wants us to invest in, let's say, all green energy, we're going to do that. It's their money. But today, because of AI and the
But who leads the conversation for this stuff? You know, it all started with Al Gore. Right, Al Gore and the carbon taxes, all of it.
Need for power and electricity. It can't just be one way right now. It can't just be hydrocarbons. If you see what China is doing right now, China is rapidly building more nuclear than any other country in the world. They have the largest solar fields in the world, yet they're the biggest importer of gas and oil.
Very important, yeah.
And so, to me, more importantly today, I think society has moved into a better position of having more pragmatism, and what you're hearing from me is I'm echoing what we're hearing from our clients.
Yeah, I mean, Larry Fink likes to say that it's his clients who want green energy. His clients want carbon taxes. His clients want diversity and DEI programs. Sure, Larry. Okay, Larry. Breaking Ripple CEO said it's the ChatGPT moment of crypto. This was a huge video, reveals huge banks' interest in stablecoins. Let's listen to this video. This is a very big video. And again, this is Brad Garlinghouse. He's kind of the kingpin, right? I would say he's like the king of the table, the head of the table right now. You know, whether the Bitcoin maxis want to admit it or not, this is probably who Trump is trusting more with all of this. You know, this is just what's happening. They are more official. They just have more going for them. Right, Ripple, you're going to make more money off of Ripple than you probably will with Bitcoin, by the way. You buy low, you sell high. If some of you were investing since 2016 and you never stopped investing, you'd already be pretty well right now. You'd be doing good. I invested in 2016 in XRP and Bitcoin, and I'm glad I did. And I think I hope more people did. But, hey, it's not too late. You know, it's not too late. So let's listen to what Brad Garlinghouse had to say.
It is a fascinating time and place, and in part because of what's going on with stablecoins, you have boards of directors and CEOs.
If you didn't know, he is the CEO of Ripple, XRP, Brad Garlinghouse.
Companies, whether it's Fortune 500 or Fortune 2000, they're asking their treasurers, they're asking their CFOs, saying, hey, what are we doing with stablecoins? Last year, G Treasury, the company we bought, now Ripple Treasury, they orchestrated $13 trillion. 0% of those were through a stablecoin or crypto. That's the opportunity. And as we slowly integrate the ability from those dashboards, say you're making a payment to the Philippine peso, you can send it through the traditional rail. It'll take 3 to 5 days. It'll cost this much. Or you can send it, it'll be there in 1 minute. And giving the treasurer and the CFO that option is really, I think, the unlock. And again, we're seeing a ton of interest. And it's partly because people are more aware of what's going on in stable.
People are seeing the wars happening, and they're realizing that you have to invest in the future. And the future is going to be a digital future, whether we like it or not. You know, it's not going to be waiting 5 days for payments to go through and there's no money in the system anymore and there's fractional reserve banking and there's usury. None of that's going to work in the coming future. It's just not. And that's what they're really rolling out here.
Coins in general, you had $33 trillion of stablecoin trades last
33, year. 33 again, 33 trillion. That's they love to use that number 33.
It's, you know, this is kind of, as a Citibank analyst called it, it's the ChatGPT moment of crypto, is that people are seeing stablecoins as the kind of the entry point into other blockchain-based and crypto solutions.
Well, you know, people need to be enriched in this country, across the planet. People need to be exposed to new markets, and there needs to be, you know, this is the cycle of capitalism. This is how economics works. You know, we need to always have new emerging markets coming at all times. Right, we always need to have people always need to have the opportunity to invest in the future. David Sachs' term as President Trump's crypto and AI Caesar ends. Yeah, that happened over the weekend. Isn't that crazy? What do you guys think of David Sachs? Was he good? Was he bad? I wasn't a huge fan of him. I think he's more of a PayPal mafia guy. You know, he's more of an Elon guy. This clip was interesting because I've been seeing Charles Hoskinson has been going hard against XRP. I don't know why, man. Come on, Charles Hoskinson. Charles Hoskinson is the CEO of Cardano, the ticker ADA, ADA, and this is another cryptocurrency, another blockchain, where essentially really they handle smart contracts and all of these different sort of things, but they're basically being pushed out, according to Charles Hoskinson. They believe that the crypto market or this entire Clarity Act is really just allowing the banks to win, and that the banks are choosing XRP as the only winner sort of thing. And I don't see that happening at all. I've done the research. It looks like everybody's going to win. Bitcoin's going to win. XRP is going to win. Ethereum's going to win. All the utility coins are going to win. But this is what Charles Hoskinson had to say. So we'll see if he's right.
We're in a position today where people can't be reasonable anymore. They can't be.
Yeah.
When I criticize Brad Garlinghouse, there's no path for people to listen to the content of what I'm saying. There's just a visceral, vicious counter-reaction. I'm criticizing his behavior. He's trying to
talking about Brad Garlinghouse.
Bill that makes everything by default a security until proven otherwise, which was the treatment Gary Gensler inflicted on his own ecosystem. It's a non-starter.
I disagree.
Because he knows that he's going to get an exemption and it reduces competition. So fuck the whole industry. It's bad behavior.
See, and now Charles is talking about Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple. That's so not true, because you look at the company Ripple. If you followed any of this over the past few years, the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, they sued Ripple, and Ripple went to the SEC first, basically saying, "Hey, we would like to be compliant. We want to register as a bank. We want to register as a national bank, a global bank, and that is what we do. We work with asset managers and all of this stuff. We want to handle all the money, and we want to be the central point of the United States' next dollar." And what that means is that really, like all of these other cryptos, like Bitcoin, that would run on the XRP ledger, or it would run on these certain similar hash graphs and things like that, right? Certain blockchain or similar blockchains and things like that. So we have all these emerging markets coming with crypto, and the question is whether or not it's going to be utilized. And it already is. There's already billions in inflows going into crypto, ETFs especially, Bitcoin ETFs, XRP ETFs, Franklin Templeton ETFs, huge. So the market is huge, and I don't know why he's mad at Brad Garlinghouse. He should be more mad at Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, because he is the one who basically stepped in and said, no, we got to stop this entire Clarity Act from passing because I want to earn 35% on the assets that our users are holding on Coinbase.
Showed all of you 4 different attack vectors that the Securities Exchange Commission could use today if this bill was passed to make every new project a security by default.
Yeah, and he's probably completely right about that too. I mean, there's always going to be shady incentives when it comes to the SEC and the way they kind of operate, right? And then lastly, this was posted on March 21st, 2026. This was Michael Saylor and his take on Bitcoin and where things are going.
Bitcoin. I think that what's going to happen is we're going to use the first layer of Bitcoin as digital capital. I think you're going to see an explosion of digital credit at the second layer. I think that you're going to see digital money or digital currency at the third layer, and the third layer is going to be called a Bitcoin-backed stable coin, or it's going to be a savings coin. It'll be like the dollar. You'll be able to move it around as a medium of exchange. It'll be integrated into all of the trillions.
Sounds like he's trying to talk about XRP, doesn't he?
Of products and services that are priced in dollars, and all of the hundreds of millions of companies that take and spend dollars, but it will offer a much stronger yield, more like.
There's that key word, yield, yield, yield. And where do they make the yield? Where does Bitcoin make the yield? USDC, Tether.
A 6, 7, 8% yield, which outstrips the cost of inflation. And that'll be.
Why does Michael Saylor look so nervous? To me, he has been looking more and more nervous the more time goes on. I feel more and more unease whenever I see him talk. He seems more stressed, more anxious about where the market is heading and all of that.
Strong, high-powered money built on Bitcoin.
We'll see. I don't think it'll be built on Bitcoin, though. It's going to be built on chain, on different blockchains for sure. So that's kind of where I see things ultimately going. Because when we look at, again, let me look at this real quick. So I did my own little research. on the Clarity Act and what this actually means with Brian Armstrong stepping in the way of it. What does it actually mean? Okay, so I did some research. How is this going to impact the market, right? So I asked, what does this impact most? The Clarity Act's revised draft most directly impacts U.S.-based crypto firms, stablecoin holders seeking passive returns, and the broader DeFi ecosystem, while providing a clear win for traditional banks. So U.S. retail and institutional stablecoin holders, biggest day-to-day losers. Again, this is just them stopping it. So stopping the Clarity Act, passive yield on idle balances, so earning 3 to 5% just for holding USDC or similar in wallet/exchange account, gets banned to prevent stablecoins from functioning like unregulated bank deposits. This removes key incentive for keeping dollars in the crypto ecosystem. Many users already chase higher yields, 5 to 15% on offshore platforms on certain DeFi protocols. The result is that everyday holders lose easy set it and forget it returns. Capital may shift to actively based rewards, trading payments, staking, liquidity provision, or flee to non-US platforms/wrappers. Critics argue that this drives capital flight offshore rather than protecting banks as stablecoins move instantly across borders. So as we kind of look deeper, I kind of updated it and I said which tokens benefit most and which will make the most negative, or which will have the most negative impact of the top coins: Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, XLM, HBAR, and Solana. These are the ones I really believe based on the research, the World Economic Forum, the statements that Trump has made. This is what they believe is going to be the winners in crypto of the future. Excuse me. The Clarity Act stablecoins yield ban no passive rewards on idle balances, but full allowances for activity based on ones like payments, transfers, liquidity provision, staking, or platform uses has zero direct negative impact on the listed top coins: Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, XLM, HBAR, and Solana. These aren't stable coins. These restrictions target USDC, USDT style issuers and platforms to prevent deposit-like competition with banks. Instead, the bill's broader market structure clarity, CFTC versus the SEC jurisdiction, digital commodity classifications, DeFi carves out. It's a net positive for virtually all major non-stable tokens. It reduces regulatory overhang and unlocks institutional adoption. So the biggest beneficiaries and the clear winners become XRP, XLM, and HBAR, and other ISO 2022 aligned payment tokens. So why they win the hardest? The Act clarifies them as digital commodities, not securities, ending years of SEC lawsuits, uncertainty for XRP in particular. Activity-based stablecoin rewards for transfers, payments, liquidity directly supercharge their real-world utility in cross-border payments and enterprise rails. ISO 2022 or 20022 integration global finance messaging standard gets a massive tailwind now that stablecoins are locked in as pure payment/settlement tools rather than yield products. Ripple/XRP gets explicit mentions as poised to explode under regulated markets. XLM and HBAR follow the same playbook for banking/institutional flows. Short-term bullish narrative boost plus RLUSD stablecoins and adoption on XRPL. The long-term is trillions potential payment volume. For Bitcoin, it benefits by banning passive stablecoin yields and removing a competitive savings vehicle, potentially redirecting idle capital into Bitcoin as the ultimate non-yielding store of value. No DeFi/payment friction for Bitcoin. It's pure digital gold. Overall clarity plus commodity status equals easier ETFs, custody, and institutional allocation. Some analysts explicitly call this a surprising positive for Bitcoin. Strong positives also will be with Solana and Ethereum, and the least impact will be on ADA, Doge, Link, or Chainlink. So, and then today, on March 30th, 2026, again, I had inquired about this. When was this? March 19th, 2026. So then we look at my answer today. I said, update the information. I said, based on the updates today, as of March 30th, 2026, give me the summary of this situation. Who benefits the most? What is likely to happen? Which players will come out on top? Who will lose? Names. Follow the money. Follow the congressional statements, public investments, and Senate schedule for Clarity Act hearing. Is this crypto halt on on Clarity a good or bad thing? As of March 30th, 2026, the Clarity Act remains stalled in the Senate despite major breakthroughs on the core dispute. The House passed 294 to 134 in July 2025. Senate Banking Committee was supposed to mark it up in January, but postponed after industry pushback. A tentative bipartisan compromise on stablecoin yield, the bill's biggest roadblock, was announced on March 20th by Senator Thomas Tillis, the Republican from North Carolina, and Angela Alsobrooks, a Democrat from Maryland, with White House involvement. Passive yield on idle stablecoin balances is banned to prevent them from acting like unregulated bank deposits, but actively based rewards tied to payments, transferred, trading, liquidity, provision are allowed. The latest draft text was shared with crypto leaders on March 23rd and banks on March 24th. Industry reaction has been negative. Coinbase formally told Senate offices it cannot support the bill in its current form, its second rejection after January. Circle's stock has dropped sharply 18 to 20% in recent sessions on the yield restrictions. Senate schedule today. The Senate enters Easter access today, March 30th, and returns April 13th. No markup happened pre-recess. Targeted window is now second half of April for Senate Banking Committee markup, per Senator Cynthia Lummis and others. If it advances, a combined Senate package could reach the floor in May to June. Missing the May window risks the bill dying until 2027 due to midterm election recess starting October 5th, and potential Democratic gains. Senator Elizabeth Warren could chair the banking. Oh, my God. Could you imagine if... No way. No way. We should always reject Senator Elizabeth Warren ever taking hold of crypto. We can never let that happen. Banks won the yield fight via heavy lobbying by the American Bankers Association and credit unions. They warned of up to $6.6 trillion in deposit flight if passive stablecoin yields 3 to 5%, completed with near zero bank savings rates. The ABA rejected earlier White House compromises and pushed the strict passive ban that made it into the latest draft. So who benefits the most? The biggest winners are the traditional banks and credit unions, ABA, community banks, America's credit unions. Passive yield ban directly shields their deposit base and lending capacity. They lobbied aggressively and got 90% of what they demanded. Regulated U.S. stablecoin issuers, Circle/USDC, get clarity and legitimacy as payment tools, not deposit substitutes, but lose easy on-platform incentives, short-term revenue hit. Payment/utility tokens and ISO 20022 players, Ripple, XRP, and the RLUSD, XLM, and HBAR. Explicit commodity status plus activity-based rewards turbocharge cross-border payments and enterprise use. Long-term trillions in volume potential. Wow. So that's Ripple, XRP. Long-term trillions in volume potential. That's huge. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and most non-stable blue chips. Broad market structure, clarity, CFTC versus SEC jurisdiction, DeFi carve-outs, staking/liquidity allowed is net bullish. No direct yield ban impact redirects capital from passive stables into real on-chain activity/store value. BlackRock-style tokenizations. It's a clear path. Oh, excuse me. Institutional players and compliant platforms. Overall regulatory certainty unlocks ETFs, custody, and inflows. Trump admin priority. So, who are going to be the clear losers in all of this? So, it says right here that Coinbase and similar centralized platforms, 20% of revenue tied to USDC rewards, CEO Brian Armstrong has twice pulled support. Short-term user growth and revenue pressure. U.S. retail/institutional stablecoin holders and passive yield products lose. Set it and forget it. 3 to 5% returns, and the capital may flee offshore where 5 to 15% yields remain. DeFi protocols. If gray area language persists, activity-based yields survive, but narrow drafting could create compliance chill for liquidity and staking rewards. 10x Research called it structurally bearish for pure DeFi tokens. What is likely to happen? April markup is realistic if the yield language holds and minor tweets, DeFi ethics, are resolved. Floor vote possibly by summer, but the calendar is brutal. Polymarket odds are 68% of passage for this year, but slipping to post midterms for 2027 is a real risk if crypto resistance hardens or Democrats gain seats. Broader clarity, commodity classifications, and anti-fraud rules is still the prize, the yield concession, and the price of any movement. Is the crypto halt on clarity a good or bad thing? Bad for crypto overall. The halt, yeah, we already knew that. The halt refers to industry resistance, Coinbase's public pullbacks that has delayed the market since January. While it forced some negotiation, further delay risks killing the bill in an election year, leaving the industry with SEC/CFTC guidance that a future administration or Warren-led committee, again, that's Senator Elizabeth Warren, we do not want her in crypto. Most analysts and senators, Marino and Loomis, say certainly is the better chance than a perfect bill. The yield concession stings short term, but passage would be a massive long-term win for a U.S. on-chain infrastructure and tokens like XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Dragging it out hands the advantage to offshore competitors and banks. Momentum is there. Now it's time. Now it's a race against the calendar. So that's the update for the Clarity Act and really what's going on there with everything. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about the Clarity Act? What's new? What's happening? Again, this is the digital asset investor right now. Just 50 minutes ago, he posted Coinbase stock drops 20% in 5 days. Could this be the XRP army? Who knows? Maybe. So it looks like from what we're seeing here, doesn't look good for Coinbase. Coinbase posted 4 hours ago. Wait, it's still March? Yeah, whatever. So when we see this, it looks like the crypto algorithm, the X algorithm, and again, I'm not I have no bias towards any kind of currency, but it does seem like Ripple XRP seems to be dominating the conversation. It seems like everybody's looking to invest in Ripple XRP. So what do you guys think is coming? What do you guys think? I think we're going to see a massive shift with crypto, with all of it. I think there's no way around it. The world is awake to the truth and what's really happening with all of this tech, with what's happening with all of it. This was 1 hour ago, breaking. Trump withdraws from the conference as protesters approached the White House. Gunshots were heard following the largest protest in American history against his policies. Why is he fleeing when he knows the White House is heavily fortified? So, that's breaking news. Crazy. Breaking news. Trump is basically, what is this?
It's about going to be topping records hopefully soon. Excuse me?
Those aren't gunshots. You're hearing photographs, by the way. But he, in the video, apparently Trump was told by his Secret Service that there were gunshots outside. We're going to look more into this. This is breaking news. Just literally under an hour ago as Trump was giving a speech.
It looks like they're just about going to be topping records hopefully soon.
That's crazy.
Excuse me?
It's big. So let's see what this is about. Clicking Grokpedia, the X post uses footage from the August. Oh, see, this is from August 2020. That's from August 2020 White House briefing where President Trump was briefly escorted out due to a shooting outside. Yeah, so falsely presenting it as March 30th. So again, you got to be careful with fake news everywhere you look. That's why I grok every single post that I look at. Grokpedia, I'm always looking for the truth, right? So with that being said, that is the news that has pretty much been circulating on X over the weekend. Looks like there's a lot of big stories happening with the Iran war in Israel. We're going to be covering that tonight at 7 p.m. We'll be talking about that. We're going to be catching up on everything that happened over the weekend. The Iran strikes, the strikes that Iran executed on Tel Aviv, and really targeting their desalination plants, all these different locations that are essential for military movements and really securing our victory in this war. Whether we are in a war with Iran or whether we are in a war with Israel. I think we're more in a war with Israel. That's how people should see it. That's just what's happening. So, what do you guys think? Are you guys excited for crypto? Are you guys excited for what's coming? If you're interested in ongoing liberal corruption, this girl is worth a fall. So with that being said, that's pretty much all. Looks like there's pretty much nothing new for the day. We're going to cover more of this news tomorrow. We'll be back covering the information and some of the newer headlines. So with that being said, I'll see you at 7 p.m. tonight if you want to tune into Ecker Geopolitics, and we'll talk about all the news and all the biggest stories that are happening in the algorithm today. So we'll see you next time. Let's root for the Clarity Act. We hope for the best, because without the Clarity Act, no crypto. And we have until May. Essentially, that's what Brad Garlinghouse and a lot of these experts, a lot of these Congress people, they believe that it'll be like March, or, they believed at first it would be March. And then now that they're saying it's going to be April, May. So we'll see. I anticipate there's going to be a lot of corruption. There will be prices and price swings with oil and all of these things. So we will see you next time. Stay prudent, stay powerful, stay wealthy. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you.